There are a million reasons why I love this cladogram that I'm looking at. First of all, you're going to have to turn your head if you want to read it because I put it on our sheet this way. And it wasn't that way. It was this way in the book, but I put it on here this way, number one, so that we could see the protist groups. These are all protist, or maybe they're not. Some of them are only protists, but you can see that there are groups that are, we have many different kinds of protists. This is what I'm trying to tell you. In fact, there are 6 different families, big groups of protists. I circled the non-protists. I circled the multicellular critters that we're actually going to talk about. Land plants. We're going to talk about land plants. We're going to talk about fungi, and we're going to talk about animals. I love this cladogram. I love the colors of this cladogram, and I love that look. You can see that we have algae, multiple different kinds of algae, single-celled, well, not all algae are single-celled, but many of them are single-celled eukaryotes that are sister group to land plants. Land plants, we're going to go into detail. We're going to break out this land plant cladogram and look at mosses and ferns and flowering plants and conifers. We'll look at the big cladogram of all of those critters, and the sister group is a protist. Check this out over here. We have fungi with a little protist sister group called the nuclearids. We're going to talk in a little bit about these guys, the slime molds, because they do a thing called colonial multicellularity. They're not multicellular, but they're selectively multicellular, which is interesting. My favorite protist, I'm sorry, I'm so excited. My favorite protists are the choanoflagellates. They are the sister group for the animals. And we'll talk all about how that group of single-celled critters is similar to animals. So here's the point. There is a point, I promise. The point is that all of the protists share this common ancestor. And all of the eukaryotes, not just protists, all the eukaryotes share that same common ancestor. So the group protist doesn't have a whole lot of meaning for us because it doesn't tell us anything about the evolutionary relationship. We are going to hang on to algae as a sister group. We're going to hang on to the nuclearids. Somebody's going to have to remember to, you're going to have to, I can't remember how that's spelled. And we're going to hang on to the choanoflagellates. That's it. These guys over here, super cool. I bet they're awesome. I bet we'd love to learn all about them and how amazing they are, but we're skipping that crowd. We're going to focus in on the sister groups of the multicellular critters. So let's draw our very own big cladogram. And we're going to start, as always, we're going to start with Luca. And remember, and get good at this, home kids. Get good at this. Luca gave rise to the bacteria thread, and I always draw Luca wrong. So, whatever. Remember we talked about what is the characteristic that Luca got, that when Luca branched into the archaeans and the eukaryotes? The thing, now we know from homeboy Weiss, we know that the ribosomal RNA is similar. So we could actually put rRNA as a characteristic that we want to point to. We could also put histone proteins. That's the one that I like because we learned about histone proteins back in meiosis and mitosis and how DNA winds around those things. Archaeans have histone proteins, and so do all eukaryotes. What's the thing when Archaeans and eukaryotes branched? What's the characteristic that occurred? We got a nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. So endosymbiosis took place. And this is where we're going to flesh ourselves out a little bit more than we did before. We're going to flesh ourselves into a group that branches off that gives rise to a protist, algae. And I'm putting it in parentheses because algae is a group it's one of those not so meaningful terms. And land plants. And what I will tell you is that we are going to flesh out this branch in the next lecture. And then we got a nucleus. Oh, it looks like I did a weird thing here. Oops. Well, that's good. What is the characteristic? We've got our land plants on here. We could say chloroplasts were the membrane-bound organelle that defined this group, the algae and the land plants. They got chloroplasts. The other line got a thing called chitin. And that was a protein. I know we talked about, it's not a protein. It's a string of glucose. It's a molecule, a biomolecule that is found in like shells, like crab shells. And I don't know, I think it might be in your fingernails too. I'm not positive about that. But chitin is something that fungi have. And I'm going to put that little sister group, that protist group that goes with the fungi. And that protist group was what? Remember, nuclearids, however I spell that. It's close to that thing. It's a protist group that's really closely related to fungi. And then, lo and behold, we have the animal group coming off, and this is the characteristic. We'll talk about this one, but I'm going to tell you now because you might as well start putting it to memory. It's the blastula. Oh my gosh, I love the blastula. We will talk about what is a blastula. Ooh, and it's not true because this guy, I have to move something. You have to be patient with me while I do this. The blastula doesn't come until this line. I am not positive I think there's signaling. I think this is signaling communication molecules. So animals, and remember that thing? Choanoflagellates. I can never remember. I think there's only one N in that. Choanoflagellates are a protist group that are sisters to animals. And when we talk about animals, you will see why they are such a cool sister group. And animals have a blastula as part of their development. A blastula is a multicellular thing, so a choanoflagellate cannot have a blastula. I will check before our next lecture, which I promise will happen as soon as possible. I will check on the signaling molecules and make sure that that is indeed the characteristic that defines that moment. Let's also, while we're here and just for the fun of it, let's remind ourselves that Luca, we know this was 3.7 billion years ago that we got the first cell. And we now know that endosymbiosis happened here, which was 2.2 billion years ago. I like putting all the pieces together. It helps visualize the big picture and how all these things that we've been learning about for this entire semester are starting to fall into place with all the things we see around us. Okay, the last topic of this lecture is multicellularity. How did we go from a single-celled critter to a multicellular critter? And it happened, there was a transition. At some point, single-celled critters decided that there was survival benefit to teaming up and working together. And I've got an example of that for you next.